Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Friday, so time for another Comic Beat Insider, the weekly podcast. We started almost our year anniversary, covering films, TV, comics, whatever we want to talk about. This week, we're covering the 2013 Bong Joon Ho sci-fi film Snowpiercer. I am Jimmy Aquino with the podcast Comic News Insider, covering comics, TV, film, and pop culture every week.
And I'm Heidi McDonald. I'm the editor-in-chief of The Beat at comicsbeat.com.
Go ahead, Edie.
Oh, me? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to swipe the notification off. Like, hey, Snowpiercer is going to be playing on.
They're listening.
So of course I subscribe. Hi, I'm Edie Nugent. I'm a staff writer at The Beat, and I'm also now the co-host of a podcast, The Great Dante Read Through, which you can find on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and other places.
Nice. I'm Ricardo Serrano, also a staff writer at The Beat, and I have a Spanish podcast called Se Habla Comics, where we talk about comics in Spanish.
Excelente. I can remember my, high school Spanish. Awesome. Thank you both for joining us. We appreciate it. This is one of my favorite films. I'm a big fan of Bong Joon Ho, of course, going back to all of his films. I think I've seen all of them now. Maybe a couple I haven't yet, but this was his first foray into doing an English-speaking film. It was 85% English, at least, and there's about 15% Korean and a couple little smatterings of other languages here and there. But yeah, it was a big production for him. It was a $42 million budget, the largest film budget of all time for any film with Korean investors. And of course, a lot of people know it's loosely based on the French bande dessinée comic of the same name, which I remember started reading, but then I never really finished it. Not that I didn't like it, I just got distracted, I guess. But Ricky, you said you read it, right?
Yeah, I read it. It's been a while, but I read it.
Yeah, it's very different from the comic because Bong read it in 2005. He was at like a comic book shop or something like that, and starting those annoying people in the aisles at Barnes and Nobles who sit there and read all day. You got to walk around. He was one of those, and read the whole thing apparently, and showed it to friends. Like, this is great. We got to do something with this. But then he realized, I'm not sure I can translate this to film, but I like the idea. So he came up with a new story with new characters to create this sort of new cinematic, look for it. But yeah,
it's very different.
Yeah, it is really different, but it's great. So I think I saw this in theaters when it came out in 2013. I feel like I did. But if I didn't, I've seen it 15 times since then. So, and probably, two of those this week. But yeah, when was the first time you guys saw it?
So as with many of the films that Jimmy chooses, I saw it for the first time last night. Now, that is interesting, however, because during a different period of my life after this movie, we covered, I want to say, a bunch of our writers on The Beat way back when this movie was coming out. We did a lot of coverage of it, and we were definitely ahead of the curve on this movie and gave it a lot of PR. And then, I'm sure we'll get to the big Harvey Weinstein, the villain of the piece.
The cut, yes.
Always exciting. But it came out and it was on streaming quite a bit, and I was always like, let's watch Snowpiercer. And then for some reason we never did, because I was super interested to see it. So anyway, then time passed and this podcast began. And so I watched it for the first time. But, of course, I'm aware of it. And, just to tie this in, we call this comic book movies that were ahead of their time month. Last week with Mystery Men, as we said, a comedy that was a little bit, before superhero movies were omnipresent. And obviously with Snowpiercer, before Bong Joon Ho was like the man, and and as we'll get to, had to fight to defend his film from the predations of Harvey Weinstein, and succeeded. So
yes, exactly. Ending. For sure. How about
Love
you
that.
guys? Edie, when was the first time you saw it?
So my memory is a little foggy, like a lot of us right now, but I would say I'm almost 100% sure I saw a screener of this because I'm in the women film critics circle, and so I get screeners.
Nice.
And I am almost 100% positive that I saw this on a screener and was just blown away by it, by how good it was. I saw it was 2013. So I'm wondering if maybe it was released in 2013, but we were considering it in 2014 or something like that. I don't know what the deadline was.
It was widely released in 2014.
Okay.
Sure,
So,
yeah.
because that's my memory is I was like,
Yeah.
I wasn't doing that in 2013, but I remember getting the screener and being really excited because of the cast and because it was, based on a comic. Yeah, I mean, it was just, it was love at first sight. I totally loved it
Nice.
the first time I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a weird entry into it because I used to go to a video rental place that's still open, not here in New York, and I didn't know anything about the movie, and the guy said, "Hey, you look like you like superheroes and comics," and I'm like, "Yeah,
You look like
exactly."
he
And I, okay,
profiled you.
Mhm.
But
You look
comic
like a
book profile.
nerd.
Just the fact he was wearing a
Yeah.
Green Lantern T-shirt, had a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers backpack, and
Yeah.
Exactly, all of this stuff. And he said, "So watch this movie. It's about a lot of people stuck in a train." And I'm like, "Dude, that's not really selling it." No, but it says here it's based on a comic, and I said, "Oh, fine, give it to me."
That does it.
That is it. And then I saw it. I didn't even know that it was a comic beforehand. And when I just saw it again, I was blown away. And I think I even wrote a very short essay for a class I was taking at the time on it. So I was
Nice.
definitely in love with the movie, especially because
Was
Captain America's in it as well. So.
exactly, yeah. And
Yeah.
we'll get to how that happened. Yeah. Well, as Heidi said in her tweet earlier, are all movies on trains good? There's some really good train movies. I mean, like
Yeah.
Murder on the Orient Express. We covered, Train to Busan. I mean, Throw Mama from a Train. Come on, they're all good.
Emperor of the North,
Look at that,
and
yeah.
my favorite, Runaway Train. I love that
Runaway
movie to
Train.
death.
Polar Express. Come on, they're all out there. Come on.
There's a lot of The Greatest Show on Earth,
Mystery
There you
Train?
go.
Runaway,
Yeah,
The Fugitive.
Yeah. Mhm.
Taking of
I'm big
Pelham,
on.
1, 2,
I'm,
3.
Thomas the Tank Engine. Come on, they're all good. Come on, we got it. Come on, all good stuff. We could have had Train Month. Let me give you some nerd stats
we
about this.
still can.
Yeah, we still can. Let me give some nerd stats about this. So, roughly 90% of the film was shot on set. They did mostly practical effects. There definitely was FX, obviously dealing with mostly like sort of the outdoor stuff, the Frozen City, the Yekterina Bridge scene, the Frozen Harbor setting, of course, like the aquarium one. But a lot of it was they built, I think, 26 or 27 train cars because they shot in, I think, Czechoslovakia, and they had like on a gimbal, which is like a little device that can turn and make things rotate and whatever else. So it was like they said they got on this set the third day. They felt like they were like seasick and car sick because it was like a ride for them. So it was really practical how they built it, and even because obviously even a $42 million budget is big to them, but to us it's like it's nothing, But the fact that they did it, it was to do what they did was pretty amazing. And as Heidi mentioned, it was distributed by the Weinstein Company here, and Jack Hall Harvey wanted to cut 30 minutes and wanted more action and like a voiceover at the end. But in the test screenings, did not do well. So Bong and so did John Hurt and Tilda Swinton and most of the cast were like, no, we need the full cut. And there was even like a whole like release a full cut thing,
Oh wow.
Yeah,
thing
there
that
was.
happened.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. There was a whole movement for it,
Wow.
yeah,
but it is one of the best. I was reading all that, and it really is like the most satisfying victory of all
yeah.
times because
It really
Weinstein
was.
wanted to cut 20 minutes out of it,
Mhm.
which this movie takes its time with a lot of
Yeah, it's
things.
2 hours long.
It's
Yeah,
a 2 hour long movie. So I'm not saying he was entirely off base, but he was off base.
yeah.
And and they had this test screening and it got terrible ratings because they'd cut out all the story.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
luckily Bong Joon Ho had in his contract that he could have his own test screening, and they
Yeah.
did a screening of his cut, and the
Mm.
ratings were much higher. So
Yeah.
yes, victory.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Viva. Yeah.
That's so unusual for that to happen.
Mhm.
For the
Yeah.
longer cut to get higher
Yeah.
rated in a test screening,
But
especially.
But
Yeah.
it's like they cut out the story,
Yeah.
they cut out because there's a lot of backstory in this movie. There's a
Yeah.
lot of
Yes,
layers
There is.
to it.
Oh, they set up so much. Like watching it again,
Yeah.
you're like, oh my god, they mentioned this in the first 10 minutes, and it comes back
Yeah.
later. Like, yeah. But yeah, with that screening, it's like because they'd only originally opened it up to like 14 screens, but then because of his successful screening and word of mouth got out there, they opened it wider to like 100 and something screenings, and that's how it got like a wider release. And,
Yeah.
and I think
But I
go ahead,
just,
Tim.
no, just like, Harvey Weinstein was like, I always say Weinstein. I know it's Weinstein, but he, because the other cut got its, higher thing, he still did not believe in the film. So he's like, oh, we're just going to release it through our
Yeah.
itsy bitsy distribution arm. That is,
Yeah,
and I
a
forget the
different.
name.
Yeah,
But it
yeah, I
was,
forgot.
it
It was
only
something
opened
else,
on
yeah.
like 18 screens, like super, super small. And then, as Jimmy says, the word of mouth was so good that it eventually did get a bigger opening because it's a really good film. So
Yeah.
Yeah, this was like
so moral victories all the way
Yes.
through this
Yeah.
against the
Yeah.
man. It's really great.
Yeah, I had seen The Host in theater, so I was aware of it. I heard that he had a new film out. I think that's probably why I went, but I also probably heard the whole buzz about it through the industry news.
I think that's actually how I got into the director. Like, The Host was the first one I saw,
Oh, so good, right?
and
Oh,
and that was again like a weird recommendation from someone else that they undersold it, and I thought it was going to be like a giant
mm,
Godzilla-like monster movie,
no, it's so good.
and
Yeah.
when I saw what it was amazing.
Yeah, the young actress that Goa Sung that plays Diona was in The Host. So he likes using a lot of the same actors, like obviously Song Kang Ho. This was his
Hmm.
third film with him. Of course, he wanted to do Parasite as well, but he's done several films with Bong. Incredible actor. I mean, if you haven't seen his work, he's got a great
Yeah.
list of films he's done. If you haven't seen all of Bong's films, I think a lot of them are on Hulu right now.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Mother, ooh, my God. See, this is a film that like I think John Hurt and Ed Harris both said like, well, we weren't really familiar with Bong. Like Harris had heard of him. Hurt, I don't think they had heard of him. And they got offered the roles and they looked at it, they watched Mother and a couple of them, they were like, have you seen Mother? Oh my God. Like it's incredible. Like the 70-something-year-old actress that plays the mom is incredible. And she won like all the awards over in Asia.
I will say that I think you guys are all into horror films and I'm not into horror films. And Snowpiercer, it's a very disturbing movie.
Yeah,
And it's, I'm
very
not sure,
violent, yes.
very violent. I'm not sure I enjoyed it.
Mm.
And I'm definitely, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but having been in lockdown for a year, watching it,
Yeah.
maybe I would have enjoyed
Yeah.
it more before the pandemic. I'm not sure. A
Sure.
lot of times these end of the world movies hit me a little different now, but I don't know. Mother, I'm not sure I'm gonna jump and watch it.
It's
Because
not a horror film. No, it's not a
Okay.
horror
No,
film.
it's
All
not.
right.
It's
Are
a
you
film about
sure?
pause. It's
Are
a
you
film about
sure?
it's a film about a mother's love for her son.
Okay.
Her son is mentally ill and gets accused of wrongdoing, and she does everything in her power to try to prove his innocence. It's incredible.
Okay.
Her
All right.
performance alone is worth it watching
All
the
right.
performance.
He has
Because-
another one called Memories of a Murder, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. That one's a little bit more disturbing, horror-ish. But
Yeah.
it's also amazing. And the lead
Yeah.
detective is the same one from Snowpiercer.
There you go. Yeah. Like, I mean, he's got a great. Okja is great. I think that's still on Netflix. And like Okja, like many other films, many of Bong's films, there's a statement about the environment and how man is ruining it. It's just like this film. And I don't know if you guys noticed because the whole idea of the film is that global warming has happened, and then the world actually finally comes together. Surprise! I'm not sure if it's ever going to happen, and they decide to do something about it. And so they released this thing, what's it called? CX7, I think, or
It
something.
is called CW7.
There you go, CW7, and they put it in the air, and it freezes the world instead of saving the world. It freezes the world.
We come together
Yeah,
and we ruin it again.
yeah, exactly. Ruin it yet again. But if
The
you
moral
notice,
is never try.
yeah, and then this
Just
man.
do not. There is no try.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. There's this man named Wilford, who we meet later, has this genius, has built a luxury big train with a perpetual engine that travels on connected rails around the world because he knew that the CW7 would not work somehow. But if you notice the very opening shot, I don't know if it was a necklace or just a little pendant hanging from something, but there's a little thing, it says "Save the Planet" in the very opening shot, which I'm like, he threw it at us right away. But like here, Save the Planet. Ooh, looks what we did to it. For sure. But my thing is like it runs around the world, right? In one whole day, the train.
No, in a year.
In a year.
year.
Sorry, when I was saying a day. Yeah, 1 year. Why did it have to go around the world? Why couldn't it just go around like Africa or Asia or America? Like, did you need to cross all of that? I just made it for, more difficult tracks to be built. I don't know. I feel like it could have been more practical, Wilford. I'm just saying, for such a genius. I don't know.
Well, he wasn't making it for everyone to escape on, right? He was just
Right.
making it to make it, and then it became this arc.
Fair enough.
So
There
I
you go.
think
That's
it was
right.
like
Yeah,
he
you're
was
right. Okay.
he was marketing it as the interworld, the connected world
You're correct. That's right.
railway.
There's that little video thing. That's right. You're correct. I just
Yeah,
forgot about
where
it.
they say that
I took notes, Jimmy. I took
Excellent.
them
Thank you.
seriously.
I do too. I have my
You
notes in
both
front
of
of
you,
me too, but
Heidi and Jimmy.
I miss things on occasion. That's why I'm glad I have you guys find it.
I just riff. That's why I'm always Jimmy's always like correcting me. No, it's Captain America, not Lieutenant America.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes corporal, but awesome. And as well, so this was also Bong's as we mentioned, his first big Hollywood film with the mostly English cast. He didn't want speaking of Captain America, he didn't want Chris Evans at first because he felt he was just too all-American muscle. He was already Captain America by then. And he was just like, I don't know. But then he met him and he saw a couple of his smaller films and he found that he did have this very sensitive and introverted side. Like wardrobe had to really cover Evans up. I mean, if you notice, he's in a coat the whole time, pretty much, because they had to hide his muscles. And they had to make him look slimmer because he's supposed to be this, like, not emaciated, but like he lives in the
malnourished.
tail, yeah. And so they had to make him look slimmer. There was how they cut some of the sleeves to hide his, but he's always in a big coat. You notice that he's always covered up. You don't get the skin. Sorry. The beautiful Chris Evans.
But we should talk a little about the the redemption of Chris Evans because I think I would have had the same idea. I mean, I've been covering his career from jump because he was in so many comic book movies. I think we actually decided he's the king of the comic book movies.
Yeah.
And, when he was Johnny Storm in one of those Fantastic Four movies back in the
Losers,
day. Yeah. But I mean, he was a himbo. He really was. And, like he just, was without a shirt on, in the Fantastic Four, there's a whipped cream scene, and some of the other movies. God. So you could definitely get an idea that this guy was, Stifler too or something.
Yeah.
But, he really has proven himself. And
I agree. Yeah.
Films like this, he's definitely not afraid to take on indie films, and that's
he wanted this one bad. Yeah, he wanted this because he knew that Captain America was going to be an 85-year contract. And he was like, I need to show another side to me at least, and he did. And it was like many of the actors in it, Bong, some of them weren't sure about doing, like, as I mentioned with Harris and Hurt, they were, after Harris saw the films, he was definitely like, anything he wants me to do. And Hurt kind of took the role after he got cast and then was like, oh, I'm glad I took this because I saw Mother and I was convinced I made the right decision. And then he said this great little quote because all the film crew referred to Bong with great reverence as Director Bong. I love the fact that I'm working for Director Bong. John Hurt, so
John
adorable.
Hurt.
So
we
adorable.
miss you.
I know, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah, so good.
What an actor! I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Just
So
instant
this
credibility.
is a great cast. I mean, what a great cast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I would say that I did kind of feel like I knew that they didn't necessarily want Evans in the movie because I do feel, and not that it doesn't work out in the end, great, it does, but I do feel like he's a main character that's not all about him because for stretches of the movie, you kind of feel like you're focused on everyone. And I do like that, like, it's an accomplishment that even with the star power in the cast, it doesn't really feel like a Chris Evans vehicle.
Yes.
Oh, not at all. No.
Exactly, which is great. That's something that's really great about a lot of Bong's films, as you know, is that he really is so character driven. And like I said, he co-wrote this with what her name is, Kelly Masterson.
Kelly Masterson.
And it's really heavy on characterization, as Heidi said. It's really heavy on story and plot and like that. But yeah.
But I mean, it's also, about society and the levels of society and capitalism and all of that.
Another thing he focuses on a lot of the films.
Yeah, though it does have environmental themes, which I think the comic was more about just straight ahead environmentalism, but I think he made it more about the class system, which obviously is a huge thing in his work. So
which story wise, if those that haven't seen it or just listening for fun, it's a big train, and the front is the rich people and the back is the poor who got onto the train, weren't invited, so they're treated like terribly, and you find out throughout the the run of the film that there were revolutions before, and that they only started getting fed like a month or two into it, and they get fed these gross looking protein blocks. It's like
Jelly aspic.
it's like I
Nasty
guess
Jello.
if nothing else, you're like, I'll have some brown Jello, I guess. But it's like some rusty Jello. But yeah, so that's the idea. So of course they're oppressed, and they want uh, to either move forward or find a way to even things out.
Yeah.
And we quickly get introduced to a lot of the cast, like Jamie Bell's there, and he's sort of Chris Evans' right hand,
Mhm.
and he's the one that's always wanted to fight. And it's interesting, they said a lot of Jamie Bell's performance was improvised, which if you watch it, you can makes a lot of sense, because he has all these little scenes where he just sort of like says these random things, and they're really funny. When he's like trying to unlock the thing, it's like, "Huh, what do you mean hurry up? What am I wasting your time?" Like these little great little lines. He like shows the keys of like the key ring with 40 keys on it, and
Yeah.
all these little things where he just has these little sidelines or improvised. I'm like, oh, that's cool. He certainly did well with those improvisations. So it's cool. And we see Octavia Spencer, she's in the back as well, who has a kid, becomes an important part of it as well.
Which, by the way, is so cool. An action science fiction,
Yeah.
speculative fiction movie with Octavia Spencer in it.
Mhm.
With Octavia Spencer, yeah.
nice.
I think that was her first sci-fi film ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
She was wonderful. I mean,
she's great.
the cast is so diverse in this in terms of like ages and kind of work they typically do. And it just, I feel like it really gives this richness to the feeling of it. You really believe this is like a strange conglomeration of people that has somehow ended up on this train that's been going around this track for 17 years so far. And what really freaked me out was in the beginning, because I was watching the beginning really, really carefully, because I was like, I can't really remember the beginning from one, like I saw it years ago. And it's 2031 is the year. That's like tomorrow. Like
yeah.
They were definitely, I mean, he was, director Bong was really sounding an alarm with this. I mean, as much as maybe it's not as environmentally conscious directly as, how do you say it in French? I asked my husband how to pronounce this. Transpersonnage.
No, there it is. For sure.
Yeah, Heidi, because that's like your whole thing. The European comment.
But if it does happen, just so you know, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be the bartender in the first.
You're
that'll be me. So because that cute little scene, that'll be me. So sorry if you guys are stuck in the back. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but that's going to be my life. Okay.
I mean, we set up the film and we see these filthy, cramped, crowded, gelatinous brown block eating folks back in steerage, and planning to do some kind of uprising, and I guess we do meet Tilda Swinton pretty early.
Oh my God, her entrance alone, her look is just incredible.
She never misses a chance to take a chance
to deliciously. So there's a great history behind this whole thing here. So it was originally thought he wanted John C. Reilly for this, but he approached Tilda Swinton, who I didn't know this. Apparently, after every film she does, that's the last one she does, unless you can convince her to do another film. Where she's like, I better have fun, and you got to convince me in this.
Wow.
So Bong approached her about it, and they went over the character, the look of it. They like, he brought over costumes and like teeth and wigs and stuff like that, and they just sort of played with it. And in her words, she found Mason as like a complete smash out of all the monstrous maniacal political clowns from history, a mix of Thatcher, Gaddafi, Hitler, and Berlusconi. And she even wanted to go even further with Bong had to sort of rein her madness in a little bit, because she was ready to go all out. Like, imagine, like, she probably would have had like a mohawk, a blue mohawk or something, like it. But she had the teeth and she had the look, and like that. Her outfit was like very Thatcher-esque, in a sense, or even like Ayn Rand.
Let's see if I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. Look at that. I did it.
Yes, there you go.
There she is.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can see some of the other cast.
This is a little later on, but she said she's a little dirtied up here. But she had these fake teeth in, the big glasses, the haircut, and she used a Yorkshire accent. And
Yeah.
she chose that on purpose. She said because she said something reminded her, and she wanted to use that accent. And I mean, she deliciously eats up every scene she's
Oh,
in. She's
Yeah.
she's
so good.
just
She's
and
so
and
good.
I will say after the 4 years we've just been through, a lot of times when I saw, kind of quirky characters like this
Mhm.
in films, I was just like, oh, that's so arch. Now I
Yeah.
find it very believable.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
mean,
for
I
sure.
find somebody this kind of off kilter but obsequious and really
Mhm.
ready to do the bidding of the system. I
Mhm.
find it very, very realistic.
Yeah, totally
Yeah.
devoted to Wilford. Like completely devoted. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's ridiculous. Nope, we've seen it.
Mhm.
We have seen
Absolutely
it.
devoted to Wilford. And another great character we see early on, we don't get much of her though, and she also never worked in films that much either, was Claude, who she's the first bit of color we see.
Oh yeah,
She
yeah.
walks
What
in
a
this
great
bright,
character
yeah,
she
yeah.
is.
She the actress, she did 2 films. This was the second one she ever did in her life, and then she's one became like an artist, something like that. But yeah, so we see her come in, and she's part of the whole, government of this train, and she walks into this bleak, dark, dirty in because they always do like accounts, and so she's there with them to do account, and she's got this bright yellow coat on, and it's such a
Mm.
contrast against all the bleakness. And apparently in color psychology is what the wardrobe people said, yellow is not emotional and lacking compassion, which I did not know.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that which perfectly for her character.
Yeah.
And so this sets up a thing. Another reason to revolt is that a lot, she's coming to find a child. We don't know why, but she
Mhm.
needs a child to take away to wherever first
And she
class is.
comes in with a measuring tape,
Yes, yeah, to
which is
measure the
so
kids.
disturbing.
Yeah, you're like, what is
It's not just
happening?
like I'm going to take a kid. It's like
Yeah.
I'm measuring the
Mhm.
kids.
You need the right size kid. Yeah. So
Oh,
of course the father, one of the kids, takes great umbrage to this, and throws his shoe at her, and she does this great thing where it hits her head, starts bleeding, and she like tastes
and
her own
she
blood. It's like,
Yeah.
oh
blood.
man,
Which
and
is which is interesting because we've had several incidents in the past, recent past, where someone actually throws a shoe
mm,
at a politician. They
mhm,
never hit them,
yeah,
Mhm.
and this guy like zeroed
nails her.
in
Well, it
God.
was a
Yeah,
and
it
nailed.
was a train. We had the
yeah,
narrow.
yeah. There you go. Yeah, an easier shot for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he gets punished in a
Oh,
horrible way because again, it's
Yeah.
freezing outside. People can't survive outside.
I know.
Right.
Which is a
That's why
great.
we're in the train. I don't know if we've
Yeah,
said that yet. It's
yeah,
so
that's right.
so
Yeah,
cold you can't survive.
yeah,
Not only
that's
did
why.
did this CW 7 like make it cold, it's like uninhabitable cold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Frozen cities,
hmm
dead, everything dead.
yeah, for sure. So
So
they have
yeah.
this method of torture and punishment where they stick your arm outside this little hole in the train and then lock it so it freezes. And they say they have 7 minutes until it freezes, completely freezes. So that's when we get Tilda Swinton coming in to give this great, like, speech. It's
Yeah.
a great, crazy speech. And it's like, oh, she's so good.
But you
So
said they had to
good.
convince her after every movie was done
Yeah,
because
apparently. Yeah.
but there was a while where she was easily convinced because she was everything.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's what I found strange. I'm like, she works all the
I
time.
know, and
Yeah.
she,
So that must be just a little folklore or something like
Yeah,
you
that.
yeah.
know, unlike Octavia Spencer, I mean, she's in every weird science fiction,
Yeah.
Hmm.
fantasy movie there is. I mean, obviously her
Yeah.
and Chris Evans, although they
Yeah.
didn't lock up in Avengers, they're both in the MCU together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
But I
yeah,
do
so go ahead. Yeah.
no no that I do like one of the, even though it has an environmental message that's clearly there. I was wondering like if the movie was going to be very successful with American audiences because it is about class, and I think class in the United States is kind of like, well, there was this writer called Paul Fussell who said that the dirtiest word in the American English language is class.
Mm.
Mm,
And usually when you have those kinds of movies that try to tell you, hey, you guys are privileged up there, that's not very nice.
mhm.
Usually a lot of people jump on the train, so to speak, to say, Oh yeah, they're very privileged. Not me. I live in New York and everything is expensive, and so which is kind of like no one wants to get holding into that category of being like, I have everything in the world. Look at me enjoying it. Which is when you get to that scene at the end with Wilford, and you see all of the things that he has in his engine room. Um, it is kind of shocking, even at knowing that it's coming, that he has his steaks, that he has all of these other things that he's enjoying, and over the environmental stuff, I actually thought it was more about class.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too, for
I
sure.
think
Yeah, it's a
so.
lot.
I think so.
Well,
I agree.
you know, what's really interesting is like I was just on a rant yesterday morning, this morning. What is time? But recently,
Non-time.
Yeah.
about you know, environmentalism and conservation and pollution, climate change, the whole bit. And I was kind of like, you know, the greatest trick, you know, the 1% devils ever pulled was to make people think that if you don't put your recycling out, that's what's killing the planet, because it's not. Your individual recycling not going out doesn't really factor in. You could argue that there's like a trickle down effect, that the more people are aware of things like recycling, they might be potentially more involved in like conservation. But it's the 1%. It's the people who own companies, who fly around private jets at a moment's notice, who on a large scale are polluting the environment or benefiting off of the pollution of the environment. When you're talking about, like, you know, clothes manufacturers is one of the biggest pollutants. Fast fashion is one of the biggest pollutants around in terms of climate change. The amount of toxins.
Can I tell you a story about that, Edie? Because that is so true, all of you. But you know, I remember one of the big awakenings of my life actually came back on the very first Earth Day. And I know I'm aging myself, but as you all know, I'm quite old. And there was a big special that had all the celebrities on it, and it was about right. Okay,
I think I saw it too. Yeah.
Maybe you remember this little item. It had the Cosbys on it. It had Bill Cosby and Felicia Rashad, because the Cosby Show is the biggest thing in the universe. And Felicia Rashad was yelling at Cliff because he kept opening the pots to test the food. And she's like, Cliff, don't you know that wastes energy? And he's like, well, I know it does. And, you know, like Bill Cosby is like, oh, don't keep opening the pots. And I realized at that moment, it's like, you are telling us that we are to blame, that opening a pot while we cook is what's, you know, polluting this world. The corporation is, like you just said, they're giving us this message that we're personally responsible by, you know, not putting my Coke bottle in the garbage and opening the pot while I cook. They don't even do that anymore. That was a non-starter.
But even
just to be clear, guys, we're not saying do not recycle.
Oh no,
these are Edie's views, not those of the BBC. You know.
Listen, I don't want it to be misinterpreted that I'm saying don't recycle. But what I am saying is that we can recycle till we're blue in the face, but until the people who actually hold control on a mass level do something different, all we're really doing is kind of a little bit improving our local environment, right? Like, it's better to reuse things than to make new things, just because why make more crap in the planet? It's not good.
My metal straw, see?
Oh,
there you go.
I would just like to make clear, I want to disassociate myself from the comments made in this show. These are but in to Edie's point about recycling, a few years ago, I gave my students like a lesson on the fact that China had stopped processing the United States recycling.
So I think I saw this on.
Yeah, it's huge.
So I was sharing my room with a few teachers that were pretty, you know, like, I'm doing recycling, that means I'm Superman. And when I told them, like, look, kids, so you can recycle and you should, but this is just gonna go sit over there until Vietnam or China decides to accept our recycled trash. And I remember like both teachers that were in the room like just tripped up and looked around. Like, really? And he said, I'm not like my effort is
Mhm.
going nowhere. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not the
That's
hero
a,
I thought, and
a
it's
tough feeling. Yeah.
But I mean that absolutely speaks to the theme of Snowpiercer because I mean
Right.
it is
Mhm.
a lot about how they keep the people in the rear. You know, all movies about class are about how the underclass is kept from rising up, and you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
by being given these messages and been given
Mhm.
these.
But
Yeah.
they do recycle on Snowpiercer because,
They
like,
You
do
the
have
recycle.
to.
snow gets turned into water. The protein blocks, as we find out, are made from the bugs that are caught as they're speeding through around the world. They get caught in the whatever part of the Snowpiercer. So, it is they do recycle in
Yeah, I
Snowpiercer.
was a
Yeah.
little annoyed at that part where he's like, the horror, we're eating
I
bugs.
know. I was like,
It's just bugs, guys. Like lots
yeah,
of the world eats bugs. It's fine.
yeah. That I did too. I was like, the look. I was like, that was a weird reaction. Like, I'm like, yeah,
It
it's
really
gross, but
was.
it's like,
Dun dun
but he was
dun.
so like, whoa, like freaked out by it.
Although,
Yeah.
Especially
all right,
considering what we find out later about Chris Evans. It's
Yeah,
weird
yeah,
that
yeah,
he's
yeah.
so
Yes,
upset.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, bugs bother you, buddy? All right.
although another Heidi story. Sorry, Heidi tangent. Did any of you ever do that economist challenge? You know, the truck would go around and offer you some really nice ice cream, but they put bugs in it. And like, if you wouldn't eat,
No.
like to get you to subscribe, it's a very weird thing because you're like free
Huh.
ice cream, but it's covered with crickets.
I'd
And
try
like,
it.
Really?
I think I've
no,
tried like chocolate covered
I
ants
would
before, but
say
yeah.
I would not. I'm not a big, and you know, you think, of course, I could just brush off the crickets. Oh, they packed it. They packed it in.
Oh, okay. That's different. Yeah, that's different. I'm
I ate a
like,
sour cream covered cricket once.
yeah.
Like it
You
was
think
like
about that
a
chocolate covered
Pringle
thing.
or
Yeah.
something sort of
Yeah.
dusting on it.
Yeah.
Pringles.
Yeah.
It's a
Whatever. It's all
Pringle
good.
cricket.
It's just like a little, it's a little crunchy. If it's
It's
still
crazy.
moving,
Yeah.
and if it's still
Yeah.
moving, it's a delicacy. It's fine.
The thing is that out of all the things in the movie, I definitely see us eating those protein bars
Mhm.
Yeah.
in the near future,
Yeah.
and them starting as something trendy that only people who eat healthy do.
Yes, the rich.
You know,
Like the energy
Sorry,
bars
yeah,
that are
like
like, we
the
only
energy
have 5
bars.
ingredients in this energy bar. It's the next
Yeah.
is bugs. I believe
Yeah.
it.
sure.
But I think that's one of the great things about the movie is that it helps you, like you mentioned earlier, I think it was Jimmy, you kind of start connecting the dots as to like, this will never happen to this already is happening. Like just
Mhm.
thinking about the bug scene when I was watching it last night, I remembered that for a little while we had some dude that was marketing raw water and people started drinking it and a few of them died.
Yeah.
So you know that we're willing to try these many things just to see
Mhm.
what sticks is kind of something that you know is very present throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and I also want to say, and I'm scared to say it because I've said whenever I mention like favorite actors or something awful comes up about them. But
Oh,
Oh no. Well, no, I'll knock on wood for you. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah.
so I love the ending because to me, Ed Harris can do anything.
Ed Harris is
Please don't
great.
tell
Yeah.
me he didn't do anything wrong.
He's
I know, right? Yeah,
wonderful.
he's
As
great.
far as I know.
No,
Oh,
he
yeah.
seems
Wonderful.
pretty to have come through pretty well. He's
Yeah,
pretty
Yeah.
universally beloved.
yeah, he's
Okay.
great. He's fantastic.
I was getting such
Man,
Yeah, yeah.
I needed a victory.
No, I hear you. It is tough when you're like, it sucks. It's like we had this talk recently. It's been all over where you could still appreciate someone's art, kind of, unless you find out if they're a really terrible person, then it's really
Yeah.
tough to. It's like somebody was put it on the a meme on Twitter the other day about if J.K. Rowling could write you as a character, what would it be? I go, what's some age? It'll probably be some racist name. It's like,
Yeah.
so I don't really want to be written by J.K. Rowling. I'm fine with it. So it's like, but you
Mhm.
can still appreciate, I think, the story or whatever this and that, like the movies, the actors,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
things like that. But yeah, it is tough when you find out, like, oh man, god damn it,
And
they're the worst.
he's
Yeah,
in it like so briefly, but everything
yeah.
he says kind of brings you back to the beginning of the movie where John Hurt says, when you get to Wilford, cut out his
Mhm.
tongue, don't let him speak because
Don't
he's
let him
gonna
speak.
convince you
Yeah,
of anything.
they
And if
lay the
anyone can
groundwork
convince you
early.
of anything, it's Ed Harris.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they lay the groundwork because there's this whole
Yeah.
thing where there's like bits and little capsules in some of the random blocks that have a message in them.
Mhm.
So John Gilliam's character is sort of the leader of the tailies, as the back, and Chris Evans is the new sort of
The
leader.
tailies.
Well, that's what they call them in the Snowpiercer
Lost.
TV series.
Lost. Yeah.
They think about it. Yeah, in Snowpiercer TV
Lost.
series they call them tailies.
Oh, they call them
Um,
tailies in the
and the,
TV show?
yeah, the TV show.
They
Yeah.
called
Oh,
them
wow.
tailies and Lost.
Oh, that's
Remember?
right. I
Yes,
just
they
forgot.
do.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. And it's so they have this whole thing, and he's sort of like the sage wise leader, but he does lay down. And you go back, you're like, you get into the movie, like, oh my god, they said all that shit in the beginning. He set it all up, and
Hmm.
so the revolution, they try to figure out a time to make it happen, and they do. It starts. The revolution starts, and they start. The fights start happening. They go room by room, but they have to get this prisoner out, Namgung, who's played by the great Song Kang Ho, uh, who's Korean, so all of his lines are in Korean. And they find these little translators to help, and like physical, like machine translators to help. And he's so great. He comes out of this. Oh, first of all, why do they have a prison on the train? Like, what do they put? Like
Yeah.
just toss him out. It's like throw him outside. Sorry, there's no. What do you have a prison on a train for? It's so weird. But he was a former engineer, security designer, I guess, of the train. So they need him to help get to the front, because the idea is that, like, if we take the engine, we take the world. And
Hmm.
so they get him out. He's like, well, my daughter too, the young 17-year-old daughter, played by, as I mentioned before, Go-sang, and she's was, of course, in The Host, also directed by Bong Joon Ho. And they are great.
Yeah.
Immediately love them both. I'm like, they're so, because at first you're like, there's this weird little drug on the train that's made, and they establish right away, it's made from toxic waste. It's highly flammable.
Flammable.
They say that right away too,
Yep.
but it gets you high as fuck. Yeah, there they are. It's great. Yeah. She's so good. I
Yeah.
love her. She's so fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so the whole idea is like, oh, they're just drug addicts, and so they go, we'll do it for your chrono. Every
Yeah.
door we open, we get another piece of chrono. And they're like, drug addicts, whatever, sure. As long as you
And,
do it for.
and then we kind of, the beauty of a movie set on a train
Mm-hmm.
is that we have each of these environments. And, we saw this
Oh yeah.
when we talked about Train to Busan, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
another great Korean train movie. But,
Yep.
with this movie, Snowpiercer, like every time he opens a new, because he knows how to hotwire the doors to
Yeah.
open the new train, we are shocked. And the daughter is clairvoyant, so she'll be like,
Yes.
don't open the door.
Is it ever explained how she's clairvoyant?
No.
I know it's sci-fi, but it's like there's no, because it seems to be yet still a practical world, even though it's sci-fi. But it's like,
Yeah.
so she's the lone sort of fantastical element, I guess, in this.
Yeah, she's just a magical
Yeah.
girl, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I buy it. She's
I know.
dope.
You totally buy her immediately. You're like, sure.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I would say that if something bugged me a little bit about the movie, it was that if you were gonna have one, maybe add another character.
Yeah, I
Even if
thought
it
down
was
the road
minor.
we'd find something else. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't read too much into
Mhm.
the comic, so I don't remember if that was something in the comic. I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But also the comic is a little bit more slow. It's a little bit more
Mhm.
more nihilistic, I think,
Mhm.
as well. Not
I
necessarily
think
as hopeful.
Yeah, I think the comic deals more with the environmental issues than the movie does. There's another great side character that plays a big role is Gray, played by Luke Pasquilano. And he's sort of the superhero of the group. Like, he is this badass, slim, nimble fighter.
Mhm.
And he's great. Oh, he's so good. There's a great interesting thing here. So he has tattoos all over his body. And if you notice, he has a tattoo over his heart with Gilliam's name on it, John Hurt's character, who's like the leader of the back, like everybody worships him and loves him. He's a Griffs. But after the film's release, Bong revealed a little background information. He said there are definitely homosexual relationships among the men. Gilliam and Gray seem like a couple with a large age gap.
I kind of thought that.
Gilliam,
Yeah.
yes, Gilliam is someone
of-
whom Gray admires deeply, of course, but one could imagine they sleep together too, and Gilliam sends Gray to Curtis. So yeah, there's definitely some loving moments between them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where there's one point near the end where John Hurt's character like touches his face and like
Yeah.
go with
I was gonna
Curtis,
say.
and it's like at first you're like, oh, that's like a fatherly thing. Then you're like,
Right.
unless it's a who's your daddy thing, but not necessarily fatherly. But yeah. So
It
I'm
would
like,
be
right
nice.
on.
It would be nice for those things to be more explicit.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there is a thing
Yeah.
where like us queer people have to like hunt and
Yeah.
be like
look for
bloodhounds
it,
and
right,
media,
yeah.
like, there's that meme of like, make it gay, you cowards, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yes, yeah,
say
yeah.
it,
It's okay, be
but
gay. It's okay, be
it's
gay.
okay. It's
Yeah.
it's 2013.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
in some future stuff he might
Yeah.
be open to that. There they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah,
There's
there's
John
yeah,
Hurt and Chris Evans. So
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
Chris
I know.
Evans.
See, I'm learning
That's
how
great.
to share my screen.
That's
Look at
awesome.
That.
like Jimmy. Jimmy taught me
Yeah.
how.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely not one to follow on tech, but but yeah.
Mm.
But
So
there was another thing that they built up, and it was the first time I saw it, I didn't get it, and this second time I saw it, there was this scene where Evans and Hurt are talking like, Evans, you're the leader.
yeah,
I don't know why you don't know it. And he said, how can I lead if I have two arms? And I
yes,
never got it. The first time I was like, man, that has to be like some proverb
yeah,
from some other country that I don't get,
same.
or something that I never got. And finally, last night when they talk about when I saw last night when they talk about how Evans like saw him cut his own arm and
Yeah,
exchange it for the baby and stuff
Mhm.
like that. That's when like I remember like just
yeah.
looking straight
Yeah, and you
ahead,
see the
like,
scar. He
"Right."
shows the scar
Where
where
he
he
tried.
cut
Yeah,
his arm off and couldn't early, and then you realize later what's going on there.
And you
Yeah,
do
yeah.
notice there's a lot of people with missing limbs.
Yes.
And then when you
Yeah.
see the
we
torture
find out
Right.
why.
father, you think maybe that's why they're
Yeah,
missing
it's
the
very
limbs.
well done. It definitely leads
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And that the
great.
guy's arm gets frozen, and then
Right.
it gets torn off, like or broken.
Yeah, they take a
Um,
hammer and go.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
I like that they cut away for that moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
By
me
the
they cut away
way,
from several moments, which is good.
I
Yeah,
think
Yeah.
that was,
Yeah.
it's like, that's when I was like, good job, director.
but-
Bong, good job.
But then you realize that had it been another moment, they would have been wasting food, So that kind of also hits hard when you put it into that context. So like, people were eating other people in the week and whatever, and then all of a sudden you're reminded again of that in the beginning, where
Mhm.
someone gets punished with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
or maybe
Yeah.
I'm a psycho and I started thinking about, hey, maybe we could have eaten that guy's arm instead of just freezing it over.
Well, we
That
haven't
could
gotten
go
you there yet in the film,
Yeah.
but like, I mean, I don't think that
Yeah.
you're weird for thinking that. This film
Yeah.
makes you contemplate some stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So as they move forward, of course, the word's going down the train that the resistance has started. So the front is heading back. We get to this next room, and even like Yona, the clairvoyant's like, "Don't open the door." And then you see this very like, it's like a gang from the Warriors or like gangs of New York,
Mhm.
or just a bunch of fishermen with axemen. I don't know, in hoods, but they are terrifying looking, and it's close quarters fighting. The choreography here is great.
Mhm.
It's close quarters fighting, and they have weapons. I mean, axes and like,
Yeah, and
and
axes.
and Evans was swinging that axe like he was practicing to hold Mjolnir later, which he was, of course. And and it's like, man, that whole Ectorina Bridge and the tunnel scene and the fire, it's like so well crafted.
Oh,
So
It's
and
incredible.
there's and give
Ah.
the Axe Gang from Kung Fu Hustle.
Oh yeah.
You know,
There you
it's
go,
like,
that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
maybe they survived and got on the
Yeah,
train. And they're like,
yeah.
you're Axemen. Yeah, but that's a terrified scene. That's probably one of those more violent scenes in there because it's just killing left and right. And then when they get to the tunnel, and the Axemen have the what do you call it?
Infrared goggles.
Infrared goggles,
yeah.
and the other
Yeah.
ones don't. They're like, what the, and you see them swinging wildly because we see through the lens of these infrared goggles, and we're
Mhm.
watching the tail section guys.
It's
like,
terrifying.
yeah, it's really. But then Chris Evans remembers because when they found Nam Goong's character, he had a little matchbook and a couple cigarettes, and the little kid steals the matchbook, so he just yells out fire. They get this brilliant plan. All these torches come. You're like, yeah, revolution. You're like, yeah.
Mhm.
And this is it's a heartbreaking scene also too because
Yeah.
well, Gray comes up and he's the badass fighter, and we see all these weird little characters. You got Franco the Elder and Franco the Younger, who at first I found out later they were father son. I thought they were weird lovers as well because the way
Yeah.
the son sort of would like lay on his dad's shoulder and like kind of like that. I was like, oh, there must be a couple, great. But then like, oh no, it's his dad. They're just very close. And but there's the other sort of, you see it later, possible sort of supernatural. The fuck is Franco the Elder eating? Because that dude is like Jason in Friday the 13th. He just keeps coming back. Like, you can't kill him.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit.
I was watching this with my family last night, and my stepdaughter was like, "No, no."
Especially the last time he gets up, you're like,
just like,
what the
like,
what are you talking about?
like,
That's
fair enough.
ridiculous.
I don't
Yeah,
know what
that's
to tell
not
you.
cool. That's not cool, man.
Yeah.
Those white
Like,
people.
I guess it was a bad stab wound. Like, they didn't. It
Yeah,
went,
because
like,
there's
under the vital organ.
Yeah, just missed him. He's like, oh, all right, I can buy him. Okay. Yeah, so there's a fight scene there. Then Gray is also really good with knives, so he gets a little knife thrown at Tilda Swinton's character and
Yep.
gets her in the leg. And this is the first moment where you're like, oh no, where Chris Evans has to choose.
Mhm.
He can take prisoner the leader or one of the leaders, Mason, which is Tilda Swinton's character, or he could turn and Franco the younger has Jamie Bell, his character Edgar, at by knife at his throat, and he can either save Edgar or he can get Mason, and he makes the leader's choice of an army. He goes for the enemy, and
Mhm.
we lose Edgar. Oh man, Jamie Bell, the look on Jamie
it
Bell's
was
face.
so funny and
It
cute.
was
Oh,
is
it's so
awful.
heartbreaking. I know.
And normally in these kind of movies, you'd see like the brave hostage who's always like, "Don't save me, go for the thing," But
Yeah.
Jamie Bell just like,
Like,
"Am I really gonna die right
yeah, he's like, Brutus.
It's even
Yeah.
worse because usually when you see like these type of movies, but that are purely American productions, they'll always find a way for the character to say, "Damn it, I could have won the war, but I have to go back for Ryan."
Yeah.
And that's something that I appreciate a lot from a lot of Asian cinema in general. And it's that no character is ever like, even in Kung Fu Hustle, you get these grandmaster martial artists, and a lot of them die.
Yeah.
And in a lot of these other movies, they get captured. Then at the end, someone rescues them. Maybe someone loses a limb, and that's it. But I think that's something that Snowpiercer, when they kill Jamie Bell's
Edgar.
character, you're like, okay, so anyone can go.
Yeah.
Like, and
no
then
one's safe, and we
and
find
then you
out.
start fearing for Octavia Spencer, who I remember when I first saw that she gets killed. I'm like, damn it. So
Yeah.
But also usually it's the person of color who's the first to die, or
yeah,
they killed off the cute young white guy. So anyone,
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, and it was an
Anyone.
important character because it's established early how Edgar worships Curtis.
Mhm.
And they're very
Yeah.
close, and they have a very close relationship. He's like a big brother to him,
Yeah.
almost like a
Yeah.
father figure to him. And it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, but in the environmental, to Heidi's point, the environments in each car, I remember that when they get to the school car,
Oh,
when I saw that for the first time, I was like, that's not even in the future. That already happens now.
yeah,
No.
That.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I feel like I was even like, it kind of sets up so you're there. You go. But it also kind of sets up the next car,
Awesome
which
pills,
makes
so
you.
great.
That makes you kind of like feel even worse because you see that everyone's in a rave party.
No, yeah, it's one of the
Yeah.
last cars. Yeah, it's one of the last cars. Yeah.
And I remember when I was seeing the movie for the first time, that's when I got like really, really like, damn it, man, we'll find a way to create a rave party just for a few people, even if the world is ending.
Yeah.
And all of that privilege in the front.
Look at all these freaking bottle parties in New York that are getting like busted left and right. People
Yeah.
throwing no mask.
Yeah, I remember
bottle parties.
it really brings you back to the early pandemic days when people said, yeah, we can still party.
Yeah, I mean, it's still
It's-
happening now.
It's amazing how many things you watch now and you just resonate with it on a pandemic level. Anything where anybody is like trapped inside anywhere, where they're just like stuck inside for one reason or another. Really, you feel it, and you feel this. And it's 100% right when you're talking about people like hoarding resources from other people. And I mean, it's the class thing is the environmental thing. You can't separate the two.
You can't separate.
The people who are in the front of that train are in the front of the train because they benefited from the system that killed the planet. Like, it wasn't just the CW7 that killed the planet. If the planet hadn't gotten so bad, you wouldn't have needed to try something so desperate. And and they're just up there, fiddling while Rome burns, really.
I wondered if the twist would be as the movie began, and not having we're watching this for the first time, but the twist would be like, they're not really that much better off. And how much better off can you be on a train? And as we go through the rooms, we learn they're really better off.
Yeah.
Like they have green trees, they have real food, they have sushi.
Sushi.
I mean, after they
once a year, but
after they
I
capture
love that
Mation,
austerity measure. Once a year sushi.
yeah.
We're
After
really making an effort up here.
Yeah. After they capture Mation, they start going through she's like, I can get you through the train, get you to the front. So they go through this beautiful aquarium. That's where they have the sushi, which is such a great, like hey, there's a revolution. Let's stop for sushi lunch. Why not? And then we get to the school class after that with Allison Pill, who's awesome. The kids are being indoctrinated or already indoctrinated. There's this little film that gives a quick background of the train, the absurdity of the song and how they're just, if we go outside, we'll die. The whole thing. And the teacher's joy carried on as if nothing goes wrong. They mention like other revolutions, the importance of the 7 frozen people and the
7 frozen people.
Yep.
And we learn one of them is the mother of
Yona. Yeah.
Oh,
Yona.
that is such a haunting scene though, because again, this train takes a year to go around, and so everybody has things that they look at on the anniversary, and it's like the 17-year anniversary. And she says, "Look, children, the 7. We called it the escape of the 7, and these 7 people got off the train, and that's how far they got." And we see these kind of lumps.
And the way she says it is like, fuck them. They're the worst to the kids,
But it also is like, that's how it would be. You'd be on this train and you'd be like, what day is it?
Yeah.
This thing again, which ties in.
Yeah.
Yep. But I would say, I would be curious to know, like, if Bong Joon Ho was a fan of George Romero up to a point, because all of George Romero's movies are super about class and social justice, and even before social justice was trending. But he was also very wacky. So in Dawn of the Dead, for example, zombies are storming a mall, and then all of a sudden someone finds this rack of like literal pies with whipped cream, and then they start having a pie fight.
Yeah.
So you have in Snowpiercer the scene where the new year is going to happen, and everyone starts counting down, and even after the new year passes, you have Jamie Bell saying, "I hate growing old."
Yeah.
And it's kind of like this moment that kind of takes you out of everything. But it's something like very George Romero about it. So,
and you get your New Year egg.
I like that.
And the egg basket comes through.
New Year egg.
He gets another little message, but also they thought in the very beginning that they were out of guns because they had been really using them. They thought or out of bullets. Sorry. And so we find out not necessarily are they out of bullets, because Allison Pill pulls watching her as a teacher pull that gun out and just sort of joyously,
pregnant teacher.
just trying to shooting them and taking them out, and it's like, oh my god, it's so
I do love though with that moment with the eggs when they break somebody breaks the egg on the head of that nasty
Octavia does. She just cracks it.
Octavia.
Yeah, it's her. Yeah,
the one who's always like, call on me so I can talk about the underclass.
Yeah,
and how they're terrible. The little old girl is amazing.
She smacks her in the head.
Octavia Spencer just breaks her egg on her head.
But again, we learn a lot. No one's safe. So because they make it this far, guess what? They got to lose somebody. So Gilliam is captured, and we see on the screen the sort of like CCTV. He gets taken out, and Curtis is so incensed. Mason is pleading for her life, and that's another great thing. They don't show this on screen, but he shoots her. She's taken out. So we're like, God, people left and right are going.
Yeah.
More fun rooms ahead. A dentist, a tailor, and here comes my bar with a great looking speakeasy I'll run. A beauty shop, and then we get the scene with the train swirling around the tracks, and then crazy Jason from Friday the 13th starts shooting through the freaking things. And Curtis, why shoot back? Save your bullets, dude. It's like,
what was that?
Yeah,
I mean, was that just supposed to be like toxic male futility or something?
I think so.
I think what you're just like,
because Chris Evans kind of gives up. He's like, "What am I doing?" And we're like,
he realizes it later. He's like, why am I shooting back? Yeah. I guess when you're in the moment, you're like, I gotta shoot back and over. But
But so piggybacking on what you said, Jimmy, about when they kill John Hurt. So do you think then that at the end Wilford is telling the truth, that they've been orchestrating all these things back and forth?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
think so, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, you see that in a lot of stories and a lot of things where it's like there are connections between, the higher and lower class to keep order. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be a way to keep order. It can't just be chaos like this. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I totally buy it. I totally
Well,
believe
I mean, it was interesting as well when they said like out of bullets and then they
it.
have bullets. My thought
Yeah.
was that they just didn't give the bullets to the people who are at the back of the train
Mhm.
Yeah.
because it's like, why waste bullets on
Yeah.
these, rats?
Yeah.
These,
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
they didn't even see them as human beings, like that infested our train and
Yeah.
now we have to deal with them. They saved the
Yeah.
bullets for
Yeah.
if they got to the fancy
Yeah.
part of the train.
Yeah.
They don't care about keeping order and the guards that are stuck on that duty. Those guards
Yeah.
are probably less prioritized.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Or in case
there's
of revolution, they steal the guns. They don't want them to have bullets. So
Right.
maybe
That's
that's
exactly what
Mm-hmm.
happens.
yeah, for
yeah.
sure. So we do see a really significant moment because those bullets pierce the glass. Some snow falls through,
Mm-hmm.
and Nam sees it. He's like, "Oh, this is life. This is significant. There's this is a snow that melts quickly. Wait a
Well,
minute.
if it's too
Yeah,
cold, it won't
yeah,
snow.
exactly. So it's like,
So
So that's interesting. So we get through. We run quickly through. There's a chase on between the Friday the 13th Jason guy, and then we get through a bathhouse, and there's that big spa fight. And
yeah,
again, Gray. Oh my God! And Gray's a badass fighter, but he's taking on the elder Franco the elder guy, and they
Jason,
have this,
yeah.
oh my God, they have this badass fight, and
yeah.
Gray saves Curtis's life by letting the knife get stuck through his hand. Oh my God.
That was just, and the face to face
Ooh, the face to face and the look on Luke Pasquilano's great moment for him, man.
as
Oh,
he's driving it through his hand and into his heart. I'm
where Gilliam's
assuming.
tattoo. So he
Mhm.
gets killed twice. Oh my God.
Oh
Oh,
man.
and then there's this big fight. Then even Octavia gets taken out,
Yeah,
and it's like
down to
In the
the
steam
last,
room.
her death scene. Oh, that one
scene.
hurt. Her death scene.
Mhm.
When she's talking about
Yeah.
Jimmy, it's like, oh no, God.
Yeah.
But like Ricky was saying, the absurdity kicks in. Hey, rave time! Look at this, guys. Let's kick it. Let's get some chrono. Let's get our chrono on. Let's
They
put
had
some
all
wings
kinds of drugs
on,
in that place.
fucking makeup and everything like that. I'll throw a halo on my head. I don't care.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is crazy. So he's getting to the front, and they're close to the front finally.
Mm-hmm.
And then they finally get up front, and him and Nam have a little moment. And Curtis's confession, which we've briefly touched on, I did
Whew.
not see that coming at all. I was like, what? Where
Nope.
oh my God, he confesses that, yeah, we were
Excuse me.
cannibals. We ate people. And like when he says the line, I hate the most about that I know what the people taste like, and I hate that I know babies taste best. Oh, I want to choke too. It's like, oh my God, it's like, oh,
And you notice there's
oh,
great acting by Chris Evans, really
yes.
Yeah.
good. And
Yeah.
The great
also
monologue, yeah.
throughout the like this last third of the movie, he keeps being tempted with things, like
Hmm.
he gives him
Okay.
Gamchong gives him a cigarette, and it's the
Yeah.
last cigarette in Earth.
Yeah.
And I would have smoked that. And he just sits there with the
Seriously.
cigarette
Yeah.
while he's telling this story. He
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
not smoke the cigarette, and he didn't eat the sushi.
Hmm.
And when he gets to the next
Yeah.
scene with Wilford, again, he's
Mm-hmm.
tempted and tempted, and you never
Doesn't
see
eat the egg.
him
Yeah.
eating. You never see
Yeah.
Yeah.
him succumbing. Which
Yeah.
really subtly shows, like when we learn this horror of what he did and why his arm is scarred, is like people cut off their limbs so
Yeah.
others
Mm-hmm.
can eat them, which I've
And how
never
he
actually heard of happening, by the way, but okay. So um like he survived, and
Yeah.
he is not going, he's not going to fall for he has to rise above this and be
Mm-hmm.
strong, but it really
Yeah.
subtly reinforces his strength of character and how he doesn't want to make this, mistakes again by
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
never taking what's offered to him.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
ties back. He killed Edgar's mom, and Edgar was a baby that he almost ate. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God. That's why he felt such a kinship to Edgar. Like he helped sort of raise him. He's like,
And
I wonder
That
where the
was
anytime Edgar acted up, he's like, watch it. I'm gonna take a finger, literally. I'm gonna
Yeah.
if you don't act up.
Yeah. And I mean, it's such a powerful scene because now we're at the end of the train. We're at the door to Wilford's, the final mystery. And all right, I'm not gonna say his name wrong.
Namgung.
Nangung
Yeah.
reveals, which they told us right from the get-go, as we
Yes.
pointed out, that the drug is also an explosive, and his daughter
Right.
has a big pack with fuse.
Yes.
And also beautiful. Like I will say, when Chris Evans lit the cigarette, I saw there was one match left.
There's one
Yes.
match left. Yeah.
I'm like, that is going
There
to
you go.
play. That is not going to be wasted.
Yeah.
And his plan is that there's life outside the train. He thinks it's warming up. He saw the snowflake, which shows that it's warming up.
Yes, I saw an airplane that he
An
sees once
airplane,
a year
yeah.
that has slowly become more uncovered because the ice must be melting. The snow must be melting. Yeah.
And so his plan is to blow that door open and go to the outside.
Yeah.
And
Right.
this, but Chris Evans is still about going to see Wilford. And he's got to get in there. So now we have the dueling.
I mean, I feel like Chris Evans feels like he has to atone for what he's done, and that just getting out of the train is not enough because there's still people on the train.
That's like running away. Yeah.
Exactly. It's still happening. And like, he's locked on confronting that. I also thought the whole like eating the baby thing with the class thing was a little like a Modest Proposal callback about eating babies. Because so we got to get to the end of that train. I mean, we know he's not going to blow the door and go out. You can't not give us Wilfred.
And thankfully because it was Ed Harris, so I'm not
exactly.
You can't miss Ed Harris.
So we're so excited to see
so we get Claude coming up back in yet another yellow outfit with a gun, and she shoots Namgung, but not lethally. And Yona's sort of laid out, sprawled out for some, whatever. And she's like, let's go, Curtis. Mr. Wilford wants to see you. Takes him, the door opens to take him inside the last door, which is the engine room, the control center. And we get all this buildup of Wilford, the great, this fantastic, and he's in a robe and PJs, cooking a steak. Just like chilling.
Yeah.
And in a row, just sort of like this old deal. Hey, I'm making a little steak here, guys, whatever. So it's this really great sort of, a look of him of like, okay, there's he's maybe not as godlike as we thought he might be.
Which I think is in the TV series. I think Sean Bean plays him.
Yes,
right?
he does. Yeah, Sean Bean plays him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he same thing, but he's a little more refined in the TV series. So here also Bong also revealed some background character about Ed Harris's character, saying that Wilford was bisexual. He slept with Claude, the egg guy, Mason, and the pregnant teacher who's probably his kid. Yet his one is the engine. It's like that's his true love is the engine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we get that revelation of how Gilliam, as Ricky said, it's Gilliam and Wilford have been working together, and the look on Curtis's face is like betrayal, just like heart dropping down to his ankles.
He gives him the note.
Yes.
Those notes he's been fighting for the whole damn movie.
Oh, and he says all these things that only if he really was talking to Gilliam, that Gilliam would have said. It's like, oh no, he's not just fucking with him. It's true. And this is where we start seeing others in the background. Like, so Namgoon's still outside, and suddenly the Ravers like, you stole my chrono, dude. They show up.
Raver revolt.
Yeah. And then Jason gets up again from not being died, and he comes into the thing. They get in a fight. It's like, oh man.
And the chrono, the Ravers are the only thing that unites them to do kind of like the revolution that has started the film was the fact that they stole their drugs.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So
be my chrono, man. Hey, not cool, spaced out dude.
Look, this is like the movie that Marx was supposed to see but never got to see. Like Marx would have definitely gotten on the train. He would have eaten it all up. He would have said, no, let's take a little while because I want to explore how capitalism eats itself.
Yep.
It's just so clever in that sense.
Funny.
And but it is kind of like interesting how they play up the chrono as well. How it reminds you like of meth as well. Like we're just taking something so
I feel like
into our bodies.
It's kind of the indicator that things may not be so great at the front of the train, that people are literally willing to fight and die for this drug that puts you out of your head.
Yeah.
So like, even if you have a really nice house that you're quarantining in, which is obviously better than if you don't have a house or you're worried you might lose your house, but like you're still stuck inside, and it's an effect on your brain and your life. And so it's interesting to get
something
that
Wilford
moment.
says. Wilford says, yeah, we're all in a prison. We're all in here in this prison, no matter what your station is. We're all in this prison together. There just needs to be balance.
And
that's what all the revolutions are about, is the culling.
But that's what, the ruling class uses to justify its own privilege, is that, they must keep this balance. And, he explains the train is a closed ecosystem, and that, that's why they only eat sushi once a year.
Once a year,
Like if they have children, but that means there must be a culling. There must be, they have these periodic revolutions, which he and Gilliam have been plotting for these 17 years. So, guess what? Cliff Huxtable, don't open that pot.
Well, here's where we can't think Wilford can get even worse. We find out Yona comes in and like undoes a floorboard, and in the longest game of hide and seek ever, the kids are found, like hide and seek. There they are, and the
kids are in the engine.
Literally child labor, and they're that's why Claude was measuring them to see if they fit down there, so they could like do little things that engine parts had broken. So now they do it, and they're inside these little engine parts. You're like, oh my god, because first you're like, oh, he's a pedophile. What the hell? That's gross,
right?
Terrible, and horrible. But wow, this is terrible too. It's like, my god. So we get that. Then we finally we see fucking Jason goes down. Nam's pretty strong, man. For a dude that's been like stuck in like a drawer for years,
right?
He's strong. He can fight. He's all right. He got a bunch of good licks in on Chris Evans too. So they decide like, okay, meanwhile he's fighting the elder. He's like telling Yona to light the bomb and figure things out, And they had stuck all the chrono together to make this sort of C4 looking, bomb. Curtis is able to stick his hand down and his arm down to get Timmy out. He's one of the kids down there, and he finally loses his arm, just like he always wanted.
Well, did we mention that he's sort of offered the choice to take over the train?
Oh no, yeah, he is.
Yeah, because that's kind of like the big character moment for him, and you think for a minute he's gonna do it.
Yeah, because the way he reacts to Yona, he's like,
Where they're kind of like, will he become the next
Wilford,
Ed Harris, the next Wilfred? But no, he's gonna lose that arm. And I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I would have found a book or put it down in the machinery, not my arm, but that's a little
pole,
stronger.
Something, it's all right.
He ate multiple babies, Heidi.
Listen.
He's got
that's true. It's
not just one baby.
You're right. He had to suffer.
Multiple.
He had to pay. He had to pay.
He had baby. Right. Yeah, he had like a baby buffet for sure. So we get to like the bomb. They're like, okay, what's gonna happen? There's only one thing left. They're like, let's blow the bomb and get the door outside. They finally all agree, but then they can't close the door to maybe save themselves. So they gather around. Yona has Timmy in her arms. Namgung and Curtis surround them, and then the bomb goes off. And there's a great moment of Wilford going, nice. He's like, all right, you checkmated me. Okay, I lost. Great game. I'm almost done anyway. Might as well go out this way. Just sort of accepts it seems, as he's eating the steak. And so the bomb goes off, and the train is done. It goes off the rails. Literally, it crashes into here and there. And the only survivors we see are Yona and Timmy.
And
the polar bear. She walks out into the wild with Timmy. And they're supposedly the new Adam and Eve. They're going to repopulate the world. Probably that's the idea of it, I think. And they see a polar bear. And speaking of lost, maybe they're just on the island the whole time. See a polar bear.
That's that polar bear thing.
Yeah, and then they again supposedly the new Adam and Eve, unless that polar bear sees them, and then they're done. They're going to get eaten. I do like that it wasn't white people that survived, so that was nice.
That is nice.
The white people.
Yes, that's right. Come on. This is why I recast every week, which I do have one coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is an outlook on life, a bit of hope at the end. Like, listen,
Yeah.
Life finds a way. Nature finds a way. To survive,
Polar
and they have.
bear.
Yeah, oh, polar bear.
Yeah.
That polar bear did look hungry, though. I'm just saying. But he was
But
like they see him, and he's like, oh, dude, all right.
But that's
And,
another thing that, like, from American movies, the hope is like super blown up, right? Like, it's not that we have hope; it's that probably behind the polar bear there was a village with
yeah,
feasts
Right.
and people dancing and more rain.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yub,
You
yub,
know?
Yeah.
yub. Da beachy, weechy,
Yeah, I
wub.
was just
Yeah.
gonna say it's
Yeah.
yub yub dance time.
Like, and with other Korean movies as well, like, you have that there's hope at the end, not in all of them, but there's hope in the end, but it's usually like, you have to go through hell and
Mhm.
lose a lot of stuff in the process to even have the possibility of being a little hopeful, like in Train to Busan. Like, at the
Mhm.
end, there is a little hope, but
yeah,
all of the stuff they lost in the process was so
Yeah.
heavy. It's not like in Avengers Endgame where little portals start popping out and everyone
Yeah.
starts coming back. That's
Right.
American film
No
style
Helm's Deep
as it is.
moment.
yeah, exactly.
No
Yeah,
Helm's
yeah, right.
Yep.
Oh, it'd be great if
Gandalf
you
There
seen
is
running
no
that.
Helm's Deep. Yes. Well
Or
put.
yeah, it'd be
Well
nice
put.
if we would have seen like somebody with like a spear and like fur riding the polar bear. Like,
Yeah.
yes!
By the way, like again, director Bong made it clear in interviews. He did a lot of the backstory in some interviews, but everyone on the train is dead. No
Yeah,
one has
yeah,
Oh,
yep,
survived.
he said
yeah,
that.
yeah. He does.
Only
Yeah,
Fiona and Timmy have
Yep.
survived.
That's it. That's it.
Wow.
And their fur coats and no gloves, which
Yeah, maybe not
I
the
was
wisest.
thinking about that. I saw her
Uh,
hands. I was like,
Yeah.
no,
She
you're
she
not.
needs to go through that wreckage and find some more
No,
clothes. Yeah, for
get some
sure.
gloves fast.
well, and the
Honey.
other thing that I thought was so chilling was right at the end there when we get the reveal of the children working inside the machine,
Mhm.
and Chris Evans tries to save the other little kid, and he just
Yes.
gets into the machine and like closes the door, like, no, this is my mommy now.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
oh. And my stepdaughter
He's
was
like, I'm not
it's
gonna
only
eat
been
you
a day.
anyway.
Why is he so indoctrinated?
I know,
He's been
right?
there a day.
Right.
I
Oh,
guess they're
God.
just super effective.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, well, you know
The
what? I like my new
brainwash
job.
it.
It's all right. It's okay.
But I think more time passes because there's one point where everyone does go to sleep.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think maybe
I
only a
think-
day or two passes. I don't know.
Yeah,
Much time
or
passes.
maybe it was meant to feel like that and
Yeah.
we didn't kind of like get
Right.
it.
Yeah.
It might have been longer. Again, what is time when you're
Yeah.
when you're all quarantined in one place?
Yeah,
So-
it's a new experience, so whatever.
Yeah,
So-
I wouldn't know. I hope I never get to find out.
Yeah. Again, I'm gonna be the bartender. So sorry, guys. But,
Like, I feel like if I were on train 17 years and someone says, "Do you want to get indoctrinated?" And I'm like, you know what? It's different than what I'm doing.
Sure. A
Yeah.
change of
Indoctrinate
pace.
me.
You're so
Yeah.
right.
sure, I can have my own
Right.
beliefs. Just have to bite my tongue. It's fine.
Yeah.
If I can sip on a Manhattan and have to listen to your bullshit. Okay, fine.
We know
Your
you're sorted,
videos.
Jimmy.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
He's got his plan.
That's right. I'm gonna look just like this. I'm gonna be like, "What's up?" To be honest, I'll be in the back, but I'll still be dressed like this.
I was going to
All-
say, you
all
are
dirt and
the
everything.
bartender at the Overlook, my friend.
This is actually my pajamas as well. So
Oh, excellent.
yeah. There is a great theory out there that's got like millions of views on YouTube with this guy. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's hilarious. It's a theory that this is a sequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I'll briefly go through it. It's really funny. So there's similarities in both. This guy says one person is removed from each room, like the kids were in Willy Wonka, just like in the train.
Right.
There's a food tie-in, the kids tie-in. He thinks Wilford is a grown-up Charlie Bucket who, after taking over the factory, builds a train. He has the tech to build sustaining food from like the factory had, like full rooms of like everything was edible, and he brands everything with a giant W, Wilford, just like Wonka. He knew that the CW7 would freeze the planet, so he made the train. Wonka's sense of decadence and imagination, just as the train rooms have this sense of decadence and imagination. And just like the golden ticket, there are messages inside the food.
In the bars.
Yeah. Slugworth is maybe Wilkinson that played Slugworth, aka Wilkinson character, is possibly Gilliam. Franco, the Jason guy, is Mike TV because he loved guns.
Mhm.
Mason is maybe a grown-up Veruca Salt. And Claude could be the daughter of Augustus Gloop. Um, but yeah, it's like, and
Wow.
then he talks about how like the Oompa Loompas operated everything. He goes, and then they went extinct. So he needed some tiny people to run things again. So that's where the children
He
come in.
had built it on
Yeah.
Yeah. So because this
size
had so
scale.
many views, everyone tweeted it because he asked in the video to tweet at Chris Evans. Chris Evans saw it and replied on Twitter, "Oh my God. Wow, I really love this. The Snoz Babies taste like Snoz Babies." Isn't that great? Oh, it's so great.
It would have been amazing if at the end of it all, the train was edible and no one knew about it because it was a really long time.
There you go. It's all chocolate. Oh my
Yeah.
All
God,
chocolate.
You
damn
know,
it.
all I'll say to that is, come with me.
Yes,
We'll
exactly.
see pure
Yep.
imagination.
Yeah, I mean that's
Wow.
When
Well,
Aaron and I were talking. There's a great musical. Actually, it's really good. That was on Broadway years ago. Titanic, and the music is incredible. So Aaron and I were like, we could write Snowpiercer the musical.
The musical.
We could totally do it.
I'm here for it.
Well, we mentioned the comic. We briefly mentioned the TV series. I've been watching the TV series. It's pretty good. It's a different take. It's a different direction. It's still dark, but definitely not as dark as this one. And there are also, and as Ricky mentioned, there's Sean Bean plays Wolford. There are two trains in this one in the TV series.
Oh.
Yeah, and then there's lots of great characters like Daveed Diggs is in it, Jennifer
Mhm.
Connelly, great cast. Yeah, I'm digging it. So I was like, how are they gonna make this a series? But they
well,
figured it
they did do the graphic novel, the original graphic novel, and
Yeah.
then it was a big success. So they did do
out. Yeah.
sequels, and they did introduce the idea of a second train in the
Mhm.
Yeah.
in the graphic novel. So it comes to
Yes.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I will say for the graphic novel, just as a little how do you do that? Trying to find his name because I don't want to mess it up. Jean-Marc Rochette, the
Mhm.
artist of it. He was at New York Comic Con a few years ago, and he got to be on a panel. And that guy is deep because he's a
Really?
mountaineer. Yeah, and I mean the book is beautiful. I mean the comic is absolutely gorgeous,
Yeah.
and the art is amazing. But yeah, he loves to climb mountains. Like he travels around the world climbing mountains, and he lives in Switzerland up in the mountains. And
So
you know,
he knows that
he knows
landscape well.
he knows that landscape super well, and he was just a really interesting guy.
Nice.
And he and the writer of the graphic novel, Jacques Loeb, I believe they both appear as extras in it, which is cool. It's nice when the
Great.
creators get to have the little moment on screen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is
Well,
nice.
I did mention like even though it was a Bong Joon Ho film, it was his first foray into English. Yeah, still a lot of white people in it. So I do like to recast things, as always ethnic, mostly Asian. So let's just say that Bong gave his blessing to another director to make this,
For
as
the
they would
TV,
like
you're
it.
doing the TV series
There you
based on the
go.
movie.
In a sense, there you go. All right,
Yes.
for sure. So let me get a little screen share here and get to that and go to that. And what am I doing? Am I doing this right? Share. Okay, you guys see this? You good? Okay, so first up, in the role of Curtis, we're gonna have Charles Melton. He's Reggie on Riverdale,
Oh,
but he's got a
Okay.
nice. He can play. He's a good looking dude. He can play rough. Yeah, he's sort of scruffed up there. I think he'd be great. And he's also, while he's in shape, he's definitely like skinnier than Evan, so they wouldn't have to pat him too much. They wouldn't have to hide him too much.
hide his bulk, yeah.
Exactly. And then of course Song Kang Ho's character Namgung. This guy, if you haven't seen this is great. There's a great Korean sci-fi film on Netflix now called Space Sweepers. It's really fun. It's like a space opera. He's in it, and it's Jin Seng Kyo. And I think he'd be
Oh,
great.
wow.
Ooh.
That's from the movie, and it
Wow.
looks so dope in it. He's really great in that as well. Let me just get up there, and then for Ed Harris's role as Wilford, you guys may know this guy, Hiroyuki Sanada. He's
Oh,
been in
yeah.
everything. He's in Last
Law.
Samurai. Law. He's in every. Yeah, he's been so
Yeah.
much. But
Okay.
I think he's a Scorpion in the new Mortal
yes,
Kombat.
in Mortal Kombat he is. Yeah, and he's so like he's distinguished. Every time he's on screen, he has his presence. He's really great.
Mhm.
And in John Hurt's role as Gilliam, another great older Asian actor, Kerry Hiroyuki Tagawa,
Nice.
again in everything you've seen. The guy
Mhm.
works all the time. Really great. Tilda Swinton's role. I love her. I think she's great as a Mason. I think Constance Wu would be fantastic. I think if
Mm.
Constance Wu would be awesome. Um, and is Jamie Bell Edgar's role. I'm going to do a little gender switch here. She's a badass fighters we saw in Agents of Shield. Chloe Bennett, pretty awesome. And also as Yona, the young daughter. There is a South Korean actress, but she's better known as a member of one of my favorite K-pop girl groups, Oh My Girl, Binny, Bae Yubin. She'd be great as a daughter, Yona. And then another gender switch I do for the character of Gray that Luke Pasqualano played. The only good thing from Iron Fist, Jessica Henwick. We know she can fight from there. She's also a Sand Sister in Game of Thrones, etc. And I'll leave the cast there, and let's get the new Golden Globe winner, Chloe Zhao, to direct this.
Why not? Yes, she's amazing.
Pretty awesome. All right, there we go, guys. That's my sort of modern day TV remake, let's say.
Very
there
good.
We go.
Always excellent. Always
that's
excellent.
Good stuff.
Can I say really quick that if I ever had the chance to recast Snowpiercer entirely, every character would be played by Ed Harris.
I mean, that'd be interesting.
And he can do it.
He can do it.
Pretty much do it.
One-man play version, I'm saying.
I don't want to tell you about...
Yeah. You know, I felt really big Westworld vibes from him in this. You know, he's so good in that. And I was watching this and I was like, wow, like this sort of like crazy genius who's exiled his old partner and, you know.
Like Ed Harris can play the train, you know, and be successful.
Yeah, he is amazing. He is really amazing. always watching.
What is your favorite Ed Harris film then?
Oh my God.
A billion. I mean, that's really tough, but it's a billion of them. Yeah.
So I will say that I always enjoy him in Apollo 13 because he plays an amazing role. But there's a George Romero movie called Night Riders. That's kind of like a kind of traveling circus, but that is.
Oh, that's old school. Yeah.
Yeah.
80s, yeah.
And he's in it and he dives into that character completely. And then The Rock with Sean Connery and Nick Cage.
I mean, Pollock is
amazing.
Pollock is Enemy at the Gates. He's oh my God.
He's
looking at his IMDb right now. I'm like, Jesus.
He's Christ. Like, what is it? I love everything.
Even did Atticus Finch not too long ago on the Broadway.
Mockingbird. That's right. Awesome.
He can do anything. Like I could just there should be like an Ed Harris TV channel. And that's it. Like
that's awesome.
You're onto something there, man.
Yeah. I feel that way about Natalie Dormer. I could watch her read the phone book. I'm like, just read it, Natalie. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to hold out for the Carl Urban channel because he's been in every science fiction movie. So just endless, right?
Yeah, for sure. Who's your obsession, Edie?
God, I am never good at this. Like, I love Saran Jones. From Gentleman Jack, which hopefully will be coming back soon.
Oh, so good. I
fell in love with her very hard. And not just because she also played the TARDIS memorably on Doctor Who.
Yes.
But, she's just incredible. And I love watching her work. So I would definitely watch her read the phone book for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. The World Phone Book. Yes, everybody in the world. Great. Awesome stuff, guys. Well, thank you guys both so much for joining us again.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure to have you guys on. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So next week, what do we got? We got Heidi's pick. And we're going to do
Popeye. We're going to do Popeye. Talk about a movie ahead of its time.
Yeah,
and of all the movies of this month, when I mentioned that one, people are like, Popeye, I love Popeye. And like when it came out, as Robert Altman's Popeye with Robin Williams and Shelley Duvall, it was not understood. It was not beloved. It was totally mystified people. And thank God it's found its audience. So yeah.
My family loved that movie back in the day, Heidi, by the way.
Oh, okay. So there was some who saw it, but I mean Hollywood was just aghast at this film. And you know, we have a lot to talk about, but obviously so influenced by LZ Seeger. Anyway, well, that's next week.
For sure.
Popeye. Make sure you subscribe and ask for notifications so you don't miss a single episode of Comic Beat Insider. Yeah,
that's right. But meanwhile, guys, you can check us all over the place. Like I said, Comic News Insider is a weekly podcast I do covering comics, TV, film, and pop culture. You can find us at comicnewsinsider.com, and we put out episodes every week. I do special interviews and review shows. I did a couple great interviews recently. My friend Kui Gwyn co-wrote the amazing Ryan the Last Dragon.
Nice.
Go see it. So we did a great, long, lengthy, hour-long interview that he probably told me things he didn't tell in any other interview because we're old pals. And so yeah, that's really fun. But if you want to just find me to say hello, I'm at Jimmy Aquino, JIMMYAQUINO on all the socials, Instagram and Twitter, etc.
And I, again, I'm the editor-in-chief of The Beat, comicsbeat.com, a website of comics culture. We cover all the comics news, all the Justice League news, the Snyder Cut news, and all the news. And you can find me on all social media at ComixAce, COMIXACE.
Go ahead, Eddie.
So you can find me on Twitter at Edie Helena. It's like Helen, but with an A at the end. And if you like 2000 AD comics, please check out my new podcast with my husband, Simon Fraser, who's the co-creator and principal artist on that series. We are doing a read through of the entire series from beginning to end podcast episodes.
That series is Nikolai Dante, of course.
It is Nikolai Dante. Thank you. It is
fantastic.
The podcast is The Great Dante Read Through.
Nice.
And we've got 4 episodes up. We put them up weekly, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. So please join our book club and check us out, The Great Dante Read Through.
Love me some Dante. Nice.
Well, I'm Ricky, and you can find me at Ricky87PR on Twitter. If you're a student from David A. Booty Middle School, you can see me every day on Zoom teaching social studies. And yeah, I also write for The Beat. So thank you. Thank you for having us, guys.
Excellent. Of course, guys. Thank you again. And let's hope that we don't have to build a train too far in the near future for this.
This was a harrowing train. All train movies are great, but woof.
But if so, I will make your drinks very well, so don't worry. And as always, thanks so much, you guys, and see you soon.
Thank you so much. See you next time.